Hello, Culture Matters podcast. Before I introduce you to our guest, here's a quote I picked just for this episode. Here it is. Every choice has a consequence. We choose things every day, and how those play out, we have a say in what happens there. Brian Covey. Our guest today is the one and only quote maker, friend of the Culture Matters podcast. Believe it or not, episode 16 of season 2. If you're listening to this, go check out that episode. Very different conversation with our guest, Brian Covey, the one and only entrepreneur, advisor, friend, author, podcast called Finding Your Competitive Edge, author of Conversations with Covey. Dude, thanks for coming back. Oh my God, feels like forever.
I know, but the power of social, tracking what you're doing, where you're going. I found out we have overlap with so many friends. I'll see you comment and I'm going, how do you know them? And that's the beauty of life, is you get to track your friends and go, cool, I'm still part of their life, even though I'm not maybe in day-to-day in person, right?
I mean, it's nuts. So I guess let's start with that, right? For those that are listening, generally in the last few years, it's been an interesting time. What role did your investment into your personal brand and your social connections online play in your growth in the last few years? The craziness since you've last been on.
Oh, wow. So if you go back over the journey, when I got into this about 5 years ago, I had no idea other than Jay. I knew that I didn't have a strong enough personal brand to attract the right people to my team. I wasn't attracting the right clients. I wasn't really attracting the right, friends and people to be around me that would hold me accountable, help me in my fitness, help me, learn about money, learn about building businesses. And I looked around, I'm like, man, there's one common denominator, and it's me. So I need to grow and develop and get better if I want to be around better people, get in better rooms. And I look at the life journey for all of us. Personal development is really building your brand online. They complement each other, because as you start posting, this, some things resonate, some don't. People are going to tell you how crazy you are, can't do that, disagree with you, like all the things. And I say, it's just all feedback. It's just all feedback. What you do with it is your choice, and you can receive it and go, you know what? I like that perspective. Or, you know what? I'm going to go this way. Or as of recent, I've had people that have reached out and said, hey, we need help with this specific issue. Okay, cool. I'll kind of lock that down and what's there. But in the results category, because we're all about results, and we were joking about this being competitive, Jay, it took me 5 years at the previous company to build a team doing over $2 billion in annual production mortgage wise, right? It has taken me less than 6 months to build an over $2 billion team and attract them over. And I share that with you for one reason only, is you can do this through the power of social, building your brand, being consistent, being good to people throughout your journey. And what I learned is we've put these constraints on ourselves. Is it took me 5 years only because I thought it would take me 5 years. And that was my plan. And I came over here with just a crazy goal. And I would tell you the foundation was my brand and the amount of people that reach out to me and say, hey, Brian, I want to know more. Hey, Brian, can I have a call? Brian, what's it like at your new company? Look, for all of us, we have the opportunity to do it. We just have a choice. Do we engage and get in the game, or do we sit on the sideline?
Where's consumer attention now?
For each of us, I think it's different, right? So I look at it this way, is I was first on LinkedIn. LinkedIn for me still has this professional vibe. It has people that typically will purchase and spend money. If you're in the coaching space, if you're in mortgage, there's typically people that are qualified that ask questions, but I think it's more of a coaching, consulting, executive world. I love Facebook still, just because of the sheer fact of the friends, when I've curated them through, I like the personal mixed with people are more open to share results, and it has become more conversational than I've been on Instagram, and the gram has its pros and its cons. The gram feels like more of a flex. Here's what I'm doing, and here's maybe pictures of my family. But I think the engagement on Instagram doesn't really allow for you. You post something on my post, I respond, maybe we take it to the DMs and we connect up and all. So I love LinkedIn. I love Facebook, although I'm on the others. with Threads now coming out, with Twitter, with TikTok, YouTube. And I'll tell you, Jay, I'm a student. I'm learning where these are, but I'll give you an example today. We actually just started, and it was because my coach really encouraged me to do this, is we created a small curated group. It's going to be 10 people that we're going to do a 6-week mastermind, and very intensive every week, get to know each other, build a community. But the goal is not a year long. I believe you can create significant, ridiculous results in 6 weeks if you apply yourself with the right systems in place. So we're going to attack it. I've been trying Instagram. I've been doing the posts. I've been doing all these things. What I learned about my audience, I did one post and I actually told everybody what I was actually doing, the call to action. And I had seven people DM, and I've had phone calls today. 3 of them have signed up. I'm going, well, clearly that's feedback. That's my audience. That's where people that I can serve. And so I share that because that's going to be different, but you have to know your audience and know where do you play in those spaces.
So let's talk about that post for a second, because I think I know what it is. How did you frame the value of it? I'm pretty sure I've seen that like 3 times.
Yeah.
I think I even know which one it is when I could be wrong, but I don't think I'm wrong because there was a lot of value in it. So how are you mapping that out? And then I got another question about like what type of person it takes to actually put the thought into that type of.
Well, it's a great question, because I think for all of us, we need to think about when people say add value, add value. For the longest time, I was like, what is that? Like,
what the heck does that mean?
Is that like a regurgitated quote? Is that the post that, somebody posted and I just regurgitate it differently? It is not. What I have learned when I found what I believe was a key that unlocked my code, and this is for everybody, when you start to unlock who you are and your code, what I learned is every day I'm learning things. I've got coaches in my life, mentors in my life, people that I'm helping on our team. And I started just to write it down, Jay. I was like documenting stuff. Just write it down on a piece of paper is what works for me. And then I would take that, and either the same day or the following day, while it's fresh, I would actually curate a post about what I learned. So it was very real and specific in a situation. And I said to them, taking my friend Renee Rodriguez's kind of frame it up.
Well, shout out to Renee.
Shout out to Renee. Renee has really taught me. Then I tie it down. And if you know Renee's method, you'll understand this is, here is why I share that for you. Here's why this matters for you. And what I had struggled with the longest time is I would do posts, and sometimes they would be great value. Somebody would read it and go, oh, okay. When I started adding an actual framework, and I added, here's why this is important to you. So for example, today, here's why I believe a coach is important to you. I gave a little bit of my story. I framed it up. I didn't want to do the coaching, but I've been coaching. I've been more mentoring people. They're seeing great results. I've had people ask, my coach told me I'm selfish. I'm telling all this story. And I said, so as a result of that, this is what I'm launching. And I was very clear. This is a 6-week program. If you want information, reach out to me. Didn't go into the details, but I tied it down with whether you select me or someone else. What I know is you're going to be better off having a coach or mentor in your life today. So if it's not me, please do me the honor of reach out to someone that can help you, because life is not done alone and your results will accelerate, but you need to make a choice and decision today. And boom, did that connect with some people? That's it.
Can I read the?
Yeah.
Was it this one? One of the best decisions I made was hiring a business/executive coach. I could go on and on about how and why, but the results show the story and consistent growth. Several times over the last few years, I needed a breakthrough, and those happen when you have the right person in your corner. This is what, I'm like into it now. This is where I see many people, including me before, missing out and trying to do it all themselves. Here are 5 reasons why you might need a business coach. Damn, this is a valuable. See, so is value, and there's 5 reasons, they should follow Brian, Brian Covey on Facebook. Yeah. You'll see Soccer Pro, Family Man, you'll see him. To read the rest, they'll keep it open loop here.
Yeah, they'll check it out. And Jay, that was the one, actually, just so you know, there was a methodology to this week. Is on Monday, I posted about consistency. On Tuesday, I posted about the importance of a business coach. And Wednesday, I came in with the offer and more value and said, whether it's me or someone else, And so there was a sequence and a series that I did within that. And that was intentional.
Now, why go through all this? You've got, people are thinking, oh, the economy, my job, I've got all these responsibilities. You, at the same time, you have how many? 4 kids?
3.
Yeah.
And a
3.
dog, so they kind of count
Yeah.
some days.
You lead leaders. You have all this going on with the business. So, what would be the motivate, or first, why go through all that work to help people, and then after that, like, how do you juggle it all? What's your advice to the audience? Someone's thinking like, oh, I can't do this, I can't do that.
The why for me has become a bigger purpose in my life. When I look back, my parents, and I talk about them quite a bit, sacrificed a lot. Both of them worked, and I remember having to carpool with my older brother to get to soccer practices and do all that. And the sacrifices they made, one of the early promises I made to them was I would graduate college. And after I left, played a little bit professionally, I came back and honored that. And I think about all the sacrifices they made to get me where I am, and to give me an opportunity to do something in my life. And then also look at my business career over the last 2 decades and the mentors that have stepped up in my life at the right time, the coaches that I've either paid or have stepped into my life and helped me. I know what fitness has done when I've been out of shape and I've gotten back in shape. I know what that has done for me. I've had advisors in the last 10 years help me navigate, money and investment and things that I never understood before. And I go, man, there's a bigger purpose to this. And I thank God for all of us that you're given experiences and you're given life lessons, and they are not for you. Could you imagine if we all lived a life that we took everything we knew and all of the lessons, and we never talked to anybody else about them? We never shared them with anybody just beyond maybe our direct family. And I just don't think that's what I'm called to do. I think God has really put it on my heart that, hey, Brian, you've been through these for a reason, and you've overcome a ton of crap, a ton of stuff that people can relate to, from being fired to your job, losing your job, being in Florida in 2008 when the market collapsed, having people completely dishonest and steal money from me, to relationship challenges, to fitness challenges, to, like, you name it. Like, everybody goes, man, my story's different. Guys, I'm gonna tell you, our stories are not as different as we think. They're a lot more alike. And so I really believe wholeheartedly the reason I've been through the things that I've done, and the reason why I show up, and I say it's being the example, is because there's a Brian from 5 or 10 years ago that needs me to show up to show them there's a way out, and there is a bigger, better future. So I think of this quote, Jay. One of my friends, and actually one of the groups who work with on my personal brand, is Rory Vaden, phenomenal guy. And Rory says this quote: "You are uniquely positioned to serve who you once were." So think about that. You're uniquely positioned. All the experiences, all the crap you've been through, all the things you've learned, you're uniquely positioned to serve who you once were. And that means for me, I can serve more people the more I learn, the more I grow, the more I lean into the storm and the crap. I can actually help more people. And that's where limiting beliefs stop people that I see on the sideline going, I'm not going to share my story. Nobody's going to relate. Nobody cares. Let me just tell you, the littlest piece of your story may engage with someone where they go, that's me. Like, help me. And that for me, I mean, as cheesy as people make it sound, I will tell you, there's nothing more fulfilling than taking care of your family and then going out and serving other people and knowing you're living your purpose and not hiding. Can't play small. It's only one life. And I'm reminded, my oldest is in high school. She has 2 more years. There's only 2 more. Think about it. That's really 1 more full summer and then another summer and she's off to college somewhere. Life goes by in a blink of an eye. And if not now, when? Like, what are you waiting for? So I started stripping those things off. And you asked me kind of the second part, man. I don't know. Does that answer that? Does that help kind of frame it? Okay.
The second is like, how do you juggle it? Like, the person listening to this, that's like, I'm failing right now. Everyone's telling me this is the recession. And this guy's over here saying he's running hula hoops.
Yeah. And
you have a lot going on. How to go about actualizing that why?
Yeah.
You saying you got 3 posts, you know? What do the
Intentional.
people listening need to hear? They're struggling.
Yeah. So this is where, if you want to create a breakthrough today in your life, I'm going to jump into, I'm going to literally give you some of the secret sauce in the playbook, because I think too many people talk about the fluff and they're outside the edges, and we're going to go right in the middle. You have to define for you. You have to define for you what success is. The problem that I faced for far too long, and I see it, is literally one of the most common challenges people have today. Jay, is if we were to actually break down today and they're like, I'm feeling this, I'm overwhelmed, I've got this. These are all feelings. And guys, those feelings are real, and they actually grow if we allow them to grow, but they typically stem from the root cause is you don't know what success looks like. If you haven't clearly defined your priorities and what success is for you, you're always going to be chasing something that you don't even know if you're there. And I think of it this way, Jay, if I said, hey, we're going to drive down to Florida. We need a map. Like, how are we getting to Florida? Are we flying? Are we driving? What city are we going to in Florida? Hey, Brian, what are the dates we're going to get there? You see how I start to get very simple? And I think of this one too, is if my wife sent me to the grocery store, which God forbid, hopefully it'd be a very detailed list. But if she said, hey, Brian, go to the grocery store and get us some groceries. Jay, I can probably bet you any amount of money that I would go and not get the right things. I'm not a mind reader. I don't know what that is. And I share those 2 examples with you because you have to have success defined with actual defined metrics around it and your priorities of what it looks like for you, and not someone else's definition. For far too long, I know I had people that were maybe senior to me in a company or I looked up to on social. I'm like, that's success, man. The big house, the Lambo, the Ferrari, the Rolex, whatever it is. I'm like, okay, I don't define success that way. So when I started moving into my faith and my family and my fitness and my finances and getting core beliefs around each of those, then step 2, now on Sunday nights, I plan out my week accordingly. And this is where most people will fall off, because this requires action. This requires consistency. This requires you to slow down. And on Sunday night, I will map out with my wife, what are our kids' events? Because that's priority. They're going to trump any other meeting, if at all possible. 90% of the time, my kids' meetings or games win. It's got to be a date night. Maybe we're traveling that week. And then I back into it and go, okay, what are the goals? What would I need to accomplish this week for it to be successful? Well, in my world, we're growing a mortgage team, right? We've got some other businesses, but most people relate. That means if I'm adding talent to the team, I need to talk to a certain amount of people every day. Okay, cool. Who are those people? I start to define it. The second part is, I got people on my team today, new, they've been here a while, they need time with me. Okay, do I have call blocks set up with them or as a group? Okay, cool, I've got that. And then I move into what I tell everybody is my own personal development time. I've got a meeting every week with my coach, and that keeps me accountable, but also allows me an open, safe space to share, dude, here's where I'm doing well, here's where I'm struggling. I need help. What do you think about this idea versus that idea? Hey, have you experienced this before? And I'm asking questions and I'm getting results immediately every week because I've curated my week. I've set up my days for success. And at the end of the day, I want you guys to think about this. Wouldn't it be great if whenever you turn off your phone, you set your phone down, you're with your family, you're turning off your laptop, you're actually able to look back at your day and go, hey man, I did these 5 or 10 things. That was a successful day. That was awesome. Okay. Tomorrow, we're going to need to do the same thing, right? Programming my workout in, I've got my calls, I've got my kids stuff or whatever it might be for you. Too often, Jay, what I find, people haven't defined success. They haven't mapped out their week. And so they end the day, and I'll actually say the high performers struggle with this the most. They end their day and they wonder, was it enough? Was it enough? Well, if you don't have something telling you, it'll never be enough that's there. So I'm gonna give you part 3, we'll kind of close the loop, is I love to run in 90-day sprints. A lot of people set annual goals. You can look at statistics. Most people never achieve their annual goal because it's so long, they procrastinate, they stop doing what they know they need to do. I like 90-day goals. And as you heard, I map out my weeks. So then I get very, very small on, I need to win the day. This is what it looks like. If I win enough days, I win the week. If I win enough weeks, I win the months. 90 days for me allows me to set my financial goals, allows me to set time traveling my family, allows me to set my business goals, earnings, all of that stuff can be measured. And oh, by the way, my coach is aligned with that every 90 days, I'm accountable to say, here's what we're doing the next 90 days. And then we help roadmap it back into it. And so those would be the 3 ways of, and really just setting a foundation for yourself that, by the way, it's repeatable and it's not accidental anymore. It'll leave clues to tell you the next 90 days what you need to adjust.
What do you say to the person that says, I don't want to coach?
First, how's it working for you today? Do it on your own. I've yet to meet somebody in fitness. I've yet to meet somebody highly successful in business. I've yet to meet someone that's been married, like we'll be married 21 years in August. I've yet to meet somebody that's been married that long and been through the trials and tribulations of a relationship and kids and all the stuff that didn't have a mentor or a coach in their life that guided them through the storms. Because it's not if. It's when you face a storm, do you have somebody in your corner that has been through it and can help you through it faster and teach you the lessons that maybe you don't have to go through it the same way that they did or experience the same level of pain. You can get the pain, get the feedback, and adjust. And that's what I would say to anyone is, hey, if you're happy with everything you have going on in your faith, your family, your fitness, your finances, and all that, man, you're a freakish level person. You're in a, not even a 1%. But what if you still had more and you didn't even know it because you're not able to kind of tap into your potential on your own because you've set a ceiling and you've set a goal and you're just comfortable. And I would say you're in your comfort zone if you actually believe that to be true.
What do people say when you ask them this?
About the coaching?
Just posing it that way.
Most people are scared, Jay. They're scared that a coach is going to expose them. They're going to have to tell somebody the truth. They're going to be accountable to someone that's going to make them do work that they may not want to do. And look, man, I'm dealing with this as a parent. I'm dealing with this as a business leader. I'm dealing with this with myself. And you think about even with our kids, I mean, how many times I know growing up is like, you got to do your homework to pass the class, right? And get the homework turned in and all that. Do you think I ever really wanted to do the homework? No, but there are requirements in life. And what I know to be true in my own life, and I'll take fitness because we can all kind of relate to this, is when I'm not eating healthy and I'm not working out consistently for long enough, I've created this cycle and I start to allow myself to be less than what I'm capable of. And the fact is, especially if you're married today, or you have people count on you, if you're fortunate enough to still have your parents alive today, do you think that's what they would want for you? Is to be less than your best? Hell no. And so I look at that, and this is where I tap into my competitive spirit. And many times, Jay, back to your question, is when I'm having conversations with people is, I wanted the last time they actually competed for something that mattered. What was it? Why did they compete? Why did it matter? And what we can typically find is there's a pattern in their life that they're either fearful that if they step in the arena, they're not going to win, not going to perform, people are going to judge them, all those things that are there. But there's also this group I've learned. They're fearful for what if they are actually successful? What if they actually build that team and make 7-8 figures and all these things that they dreamed of come true? Now what? To whom much is given, much is expected. And I think a lot of the people, Jay, will relate to that are competitive and know they're capable of more. And they're actually not worried about failing. They're actually worried about what happens when they get to the next level. And they're like, that's a lot more decisions. You know, they said, who was it said, more money, more problems?
Yeah.
I will attest, my friends that have more money, it's a lot of decisions. There's a lot of people counting on you. There's a lot of employees on your team. You've got a lot of people relying on you. And so I think that's what the conversations look like. And what I would say to anyone going through that is get clear on what's really holding you back outside of a decision to go do it. Because we could talk about, you could decide right now to go make a move. But what's holding you back? What is your fear or apprehension? And once you've identified it and you claim it, now you own it. Now you can move forward. You know what to expect. You recognize, as David Goggins would say, that little voice, he calls it something else, but you recognize it and go, yep, dude, like this morning, hey, real story. Going running this morning. I said I was gonna go running, put my shoes on. I didn't really want to go running yet. My son's about to go to camp, it's hot out, all this stuff. I'm kind of joking with him, like, hey, Henry, how far should dad go run today? And he goes, 6 miles. I'm like, what? And I'm looking, I'm going, man, that boy's counting on me.
Wow.
What if at the end of the day, Jay, I was able to come back to him and show him, hey, dad did 6 miles and actually did a little bit extra. And I ran in the heat. And here's what I did. I'm now teaching him our word matters. I'm willing to accept a challenge, and I'm a role model. And so whatever that is for you, I share that because that's my little 7-year-old. And I know every day he's watching what I do more than what I say. And there's people in your life that are doing that today. And I did the 6 miles plus a little bit extra. And part of the run when it got hard was reminding myself at the end of the day, when he gets back from camp tonight, I'm gonna be able to have a quality conversation to tell him, dad did it. He can do whatever he wants to do. Because by the way, I don't run 6 miles, buddy. Like 3-4 miles, I'm good. 5's a test. 6 is like, I had to walk twice, but I did it. And I kept going.
How's that feel?
Dude, it's amazing. It is, when they talk about what are you chasing, what are you pursuing each day? What I know is doing the hard things leads to an easier life. And by doing that, wouldn't you believe all of my meetings and all of my calls and all of my follow-ups today have had more energy? I've been more connected. I've been more dialed in. I've been more present. Guys, this is the ticket. You can all do it. Whoever's listening, you can do this today. When you choose to do the hard things, then the rest of your day, you start to find energy. You start to find connections. You start to be programmed and plugged in. This is where our habits, I tell people, is, man, without that, I am not the best version of me. I've just recognized it. So why fight it? Why fight it? That's how I'm made. That's how I'm going to live.
You've had a lot of interviews. You've interviewed people. What did you learn?
Well, outside, I'll put the plug in for Conversations with Covey, because that was...
Yeah, and where is it Amazon?
Amazon, yep, easy way, or go to my website, www.briancovey.com. There's a couple, I think Barnes & Noble and some other spots, but yeah, Amazon, grab it. And we actually took the most engaged conversations. I don't want to say the best, because there were so many conversations in that first season, but these are the ones that seemed to land the most and brought the most diversity to people. We encapsulate it there. So check it out, because it's in written format. If you love it, it's basically like a 10X talk in a Reader's Digest format. If you like somebody or like those, go listen to the full episode. But you know what I've learned is probably the thing that sticks out the most, Jay, is that we are a lot more alike than we are not. And I know I said that earlier, but I think about people that are really successful, that have overcome these massive things. I think about, we've had people on like Noah Galloway, who you probably know was an Army veteran. He was on TV and he's lost his leg and lost his arm in battle. And he now competes and does these ridiculous type of obstacle courses and things he does as a dad and how he shows up. And then I think about people that they moved to the United States not knowing any English, any money, left their family and parents behind and started a life here. And then you move to people that have overcome cancer in their own life and how they had to overcome and show up. You got people that their whole world has fallen apart, either through a divorce or they've lost a loved one. And it's like, you start to go, man, like parts of their story are there. And I think we miss the little opportunities to slow down. And you do this well. I mean this. You slow down and you're so curious, you're inquisitive, you're present. And if we were to all model what you do with that and slow down for 10, 15 minutes and actually get to know the person and listen to what's not being said, but read what their energy is telling you, and ask them the harder questions of, hey, is everything really okay? I had a meeting today, and I'll tell you, this played out.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, I won't give up too much information. And I just sensed in the middle of it, you could tell it was getting emotional. And I said, hey, how are you really? Probably waited 30 seconds. Broke down, went into the things that were really weighing. And I said, one, you're going to be okay. Just know that. Two, whatever you're going through right now, there's a purpose. And so what we need to figure out is not why you're going through it so much as what the lesson is. And the sooner you learn the lesson, the sooner you can move forward out of the storm. See, too often we look and go, why me? Why? When actually what I found is what I think God's trying to teach you, or in that moment, what life is teaching you is you can get the lesson in 10 days or 100 days. It's your choice. Are you a victim or are you a victor? And you hear that quite often. One of my mentors always says that. And so when I get put in a crappy situation or something happens that I go, man, this is happening to me, I remind myself, no, Brian, this is happening for you. What is it you need to learn to move forward? And all that to say, Jay, as we go through these, and the lessons that I've learned with people is people want to be heard. They want to be seen. They want to know that you care. And like genuinely show up to make their day better than it was before you came into it. And if you do that, you're not going to have to worry about friends. You're not going to have to worry about money, I will tell you, because people want to do business with good people. That's just how it works. And you'll find your world and your life and your perspective starts to change in such a way that you attract these people. And imagine if you created this tribe or this community in this world around you that everybody's showing up that way. I mean, it is, I always say proximity is this cheat code. Proximity will fuel your purpose because you get around people like that genuinely care. You can't help but get excited about like, man, what are we going to do next? Because you're not thinking about the things that most people think about. You're thinking about how you can serve someone else. And I think it was, Jay, I think it was Ed Milet said this, it might have been Tony Robbins, one of those guys, like I love what they share. And they said, you know, whenever you're feeling down about yourself, just go serve someone else. Because you can't be over here in victim and serving. Your body just, your brain, and it just doesn't work that way. When you start to serve someone else and generally show up, like when I coach young kids in soccer, I can't be thinking about my problems at work if I'm present there.
Well, I want to give you credit because I would bet money it's Ed, but Ed's a acolyte of Tony, so it's both.
Yeah.
What did you grow from those conversations with Covey? And then what does that look like? And dude, yeah,
you've done how many episodes now? Like hundreds, right?
Well, we've released as of this recording 155, and I would say just under 200 in this medium.
Wow.
And if I'm successful with the challenge, it should be closer to 300 by November.
And you will be. You'll get it done. I know you. You'll get it done. And the world needs. They need these conversations. And you know what I would tell you is the thing no one told me when I got in podcasting, and this is me being real with you, is I got in podcasting because I saw all these people doing it. I wanted to expand my reach. I wanted to have cool guests on there so people would listen in and do like, that should be real. That's why I started it. Little did I know, one of the greatest personal development tools is to invite people that are smarter than you, further along in certain areas. Their genius is in areas that you don't have that, or you just haven't spent as many hours, and invite them on your show for the sole purpose of highlighting them and their uniqueness, their awesomeness, what they do. And you do this so well. Thanks. And then just sit back and listen and make notes. And what I've started to do, Jay, for two reasons, I'll listen back to my shows. For a long time early on, I wouldn't listen back because some of the early ones are rough. Like they are bad. They say you got to start as a beginner. You got to do the hard work to get better. I'm always improving. And now I listen back and I make notes. And when we're doing our show notes, I'm reading through those. And what are the lessons? And when I'm posting those out, I'm always looking for, man, what were the 5 or 6 lessons from that 45-minute or so conversation. And every one of them has one that stands out, but they also have a few that complement it. And think about if you were to talk to 50 or 100 people in a year, however many episodes you do in your podcast, and you were able to digest that amount of information. I would tell you it's as much as like reading 50 or 100 books.
A lot.
It's so much so that I will go back. And what I have loved is as I listen to it and I'm critiquing it and learning myself and listening back to what was said, because when you're in the moment, sometimes you miss things that are said or how they frame them or how they said them. When people come back to you and they tell you what resonated with them, that's where I know I've got a golden lesson, as I call it. Like it's a golden nugget. Because if enough people come back and go, man, when they shared this, when Jay was on your show and he shared this, like this is what resonated with me. I'm like, oh, we'll go back. If we don't have a clip, we get a clip on it. We post it out, reframe it a little bit and send it out to the world, because most likely it's not a new thought or lesson. It's just the way they said it, when they said it, and some things about it. And so, yes, I would tell you, outside of having a personal coach, podcasting could be the thing right behind it that have accelerated my learning. I've learned how to communicate better. I've learned how to listen better, which I really needed and still working on that skill. And then I've also learned how to take complex or large conversations and just simplify it down to something that's actionable the next day.
Wow. For those that aren't sure how that ties into their business, what would be your argument case for how they synergize? There's synergy.
Yeah. Well, number one, the people you have on your show have a different network than you. And so right out of the gate, synergies, people that join my show, very oftentimes, I can't tell you the last one, we didn't have 5 to 10 people say, hey, can I be on your show? Or I got referrals of, hey, Brian, I loved being on your show. Here's 5 people that would be great guests. Because I tell them, here's my ideal guest. If you come across them, please send them to me. So referrals like that, ingenious. And oh, by the way, I'm in the mortgage business. We've got some investments and things that we do. I'm not lacking for customers and clients. Like that part fuels the business. The second part I would tell you, personal growth. When you're in conversations and you're showing up on social and you are now the curator of this person with all this experience, all these conversations, all this time that you've spent with these people, you now have information and experience that your competitors don't have, that people that want to join your team probably want to spend time with you because they go, well, if Jay has talked to these almost 200 people and he has this information, well, I want to be on Jay's team because like I can't get to some of those guests. And I've had people tell me that. They're like, Brian, you had that guest or that guest on there. Man, how did you get them on there? And that's so cool. What did you learn? And it puts you in proximity to people sometimes that they view you differently. That's just how psychology works. And so I would tell you, for those reasons, podcasting has become one of the biggest lead generators, business generators. And oh, by the way, I'm getting better along the way. Like, sky's the limit on this thing. I think I don't know what I don't know about it. But what I do know is there's significantly more runway for me to improve and to scale this out even further. And oh, by the way, it feeds all of my other businesses and my life. And even a fitness coach I had on the other day taught me a few things that I'm like, never heard it said that way. So as I'm learning and gaining this knowledge, then I'm just sharing it out. And so one of my principles is I document. I don't try to create content. I document it. I document what I'm learning. And then I share it out because it's mine. It's my experience. I connect with people that way.
What do you think some of the reasons that people stop the shows? Like you've been doing it for how long?
We're past 100, but we're about to release our 100th episode.
But it's been a couple of years, yeah?
It has. Yeah, it's been 3 years. And
so people stop.
Yeah.
By and large, they don't make it a year. Like the swath of that segment. So what are some of the reasons why you think? And the reason I'm asking that is for the audience, maybe someone here has wanted to start a podcast.
Yeah.
And they're apprehensive or they're about to quit theirs.
You know what people say about their fitness, about reading books, about investing, about spending more time with people they care about traveling, about everything. You know what most people say?
Tomorrow or
They don't have time.
yeah,
Actually,
procrastination is the art of living in yesterday, avoiding today, and destroying tomorrow.
love that.
Ben Franklin, yeah.
So
Him
if you
too.
believe you don't have time, you will act accordingly. So one of my asks for anybody listening to this is please throw that phrase out. And I don't mean this to be snarky or anything, but if it comes across that way, it probably is intended for you. We all have the same amount of finite time.
It's
We don't
funny.
know.
It's like all we have is time,
Thank you.
and then we're dead. Right.
So last time I checked, how we choose to use that time
Ah, boy. Yeah.
is up to us. And so why do people not stick with it? They say they don't have time. I actually believe the cure to it is it's not that you don't have time. Like we can all probably agree to this. I would say that that's an excuse. That's something that's holding us back, a limiting belief. What I realized for me, Jay, when I fell off and I wouldn't be as consistent, so I just use that as my experience. It's because I didn't have the systems and the team built around me to help ensure that my shortcomings, things that I tend to not follow up on or not be as engaged on, like the show notes, the post editing, the posting of it, all that stuff. I said, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it right. And so what I did is I hired a team and I realized how inexpensive it was. I calculated my hourly rate and realized I could hire a video editor that I could send the raw footage to. And wouldn't you know, for $200, they could spit out 10 or 15 clips. Okay, done. Then it was, okay, well, scheduling people. How do I get people on the show? Well, guess what? There are VAs that work for $15 an hour. Okay, excuse squashed. You have $15. Let's say you spent $50 a week. You would have more than enough appointments and guests than you could ever want on your show. Okay, squashed. So then you start looking and going, well, you know, I got to do show notes and I got to do this. Yeah, hire it out, guys. Here's the thing. When I look at what my results are and the several specific guests that have led me into investment deals, people that have joined our team, sent us mortgage referrals, whatever it might be, I can quantify income and revenue. I go, okay, this is basically like investing in ads. This is like investing in a workshop. I'm tracking my ROI. So if I were to spend, let's just call it $10,000 a year to professionally produce my podcast, have guests, have a system, and all I had to do was show up and actually be the guest, do my homework, be prepped for them. But on the other end of it, I could make 100,000. Please sign me up.
Huge.
And that is, if you don't know how to do that, we teach people how to do it. But I would tell you, okay, start smaller. Maybe you only spend $1,000. Can you get $1,000 back and make your money back? I would tell you, you can. And that's where people have, again, a belief that's not aligned with what success is and who they are becoming. They are stuck in this old version and they don't believe that could be them. They're afraid of success.
What's the new book?
So one that we're working on, we don't have the final title, but one is Changing Currents. And without giving you too much, in your life, and I know in my life, Jay, there has been times where I had to make what some would call risky moves, bold moves. My back's against the wall. Somebody's betrayed me or fired me, or a business didn't perform like we thought it would. And you have the opportunity to change the current. And I love water. Water is such like a beautiful, just visual of, if you watch at the beach, how the wind can change a current at the beach just by the direction of the wind in a storm that comes through. So I want you to imagine in your life, there's storms that come through to change your current and to change the direction the water's going. And if you think about yourself as energy and water and those things, if you get in, you understand what I'm saying there, you'll understand that at any point in time, we can change our current. We can change our situation. We can change how we think. We can change how we show up, how we behave, and everything about our mindset. And what I've learned is many times we have to wait on storms to come in to do that. But what if it was possible that you could become the storm and be the storm that changes the current at any point in your life that you say, I need to create a breakthrough in my life in this area. Now I know how to do it because I recognize the patterns. I can create a pattern interrupt. I recognize the habits that's missing or needs to be eliminated. And I'm going to actually change versus the pain that usually makes us change. And so changing currents is one that I am wrestling through and just documenting as I go through my own life of how many times I've had to change currents, unfortunately, because of a storm. But how many times I've learned over the last 5 years, I've changed currents because I wanted to change. And I became such a powerful force in my own brain and what I showed up as in the world that I became a better version of myself that then became the storm in a good way to create a new current, a new way of life. It's gonna be, I believe, something very impactful and from the heart that will help people.
What would you ask without going into who or whomever betrayed you then? What would you ask them today if you were with them?
You know, it's interesting as you look back on those and how when you can move from a place of blaming them and, you know, the why is me and look back. And I catch myself even this day, never blaming them. Because what I believe is you can separate the person from their actions. That's something I've really clung on to is oftentimes we get stuck in a place of true forgiveness. We can't really allow it to get to completion because we want to blame the person. And what I've looked at is it was their actions. It wasn't the person. The person had a lot of great qualities. We had wonderful times together. We would have never gotten in business and worked together had we not had some mutual agreement, right? Well, when you can separate that, you can attack the behaviors and say, I never want to have those behaviors in my own life. I never want to be someone that does this versus going, man, that person. So when you can move out of that blame and move forward, and as cliche as it may sound, Jay, is I'm probably not the one that would go, man, I want to go up to them and just thank them and thanks for giving me all that. Because look, I'll be real, I did the work. They didn't come and do the work with me. They didn't come and help me through this. But they did give me a little kick in the ass and a little bit of spark. But what I've learned through that in my own life is sometimes we need those people. They don't know the role they serve. And I also believe that people that do you wrong or do wrong actions, they know they have to live with that guilt. And at some point in their life, they're going to have to face a point that there was a lesson for them within all of that, that my hope would be they've learned and grown and those actions just don't happen to anyone else. But the bigger picture is when you can move on and just go crush it in your new opportunity, it's the biggest middle finger you can send to anybody. Just to say, hey, you might have tried to take me down. I don't even think about you anymore. Honestly, I'm doing me because I've defined success for me and my family and the people around me. And I'm spending my energy going there and I'm not going back. So that's what I would say is like, that's how I look at it and frame it up. Am I perfect at it? No, but I will tell you a whole lot better than I once was.
What do you believe the lesson is in our conversation today for the audience?
We've covered a lot of cool stuff, which I love. I think for people to realize God created you to do something special. And you don't know if that ends tomorrow. You don't know if that ends 10 years, whatever it is. But to dream and act accordingly with who you believe you were created to be, and with this vision pulling you forward, that you're chasing that person, that one day, I believe this, is we're going to get to see what we were capable of. We're going to get to see who we were intended to be. And I want those people, Jay, to be so freaking locked in that they're almost irrecognizable. They're the one same person. I don't want it to be, man, you could have done this and done all of that stuff over here, but you just didn't do it. You didn't try. And what I would share with everyone is your experiences and what you've been through qualifies you to share your story and to serve. If only one person every day, every week, you showed up and told a little bit about your journey and your story, you don't know the power of your reach and the power of your own growth. And wouldn't it be a shame if you looked up 5-10 years from now and you're like, man, I remember listening to these guys, Jay and Brian, and man, I was going to take action and oh man, I just didn't do it. Don't live with the what ifs. Take action today. And I believe we all have what is inside of us already qualifies us, and we have what we need to go take the next step that we each need. And so become that person. People are counting on me, you, and whoever's listening.